right, welcome back to the next episode of the VersePod. Thanks for joining. And today we're going to get right into it, talking about the All-Star Game snubs. Obviously, you can see on the screen here who was selected for the All-Star Game. To quickly go over some highlights: Julius Randle with his first All-Star appearance, Nikola Vucevic with his second All-Star appearance, Jaylen Brown's there with his first, Zach LaVine is there with his first. Any other first? Zion first All-Star appearance, and Anthony Davis is likely to be replaced. So Devin Booker did not make it. We'll talk about him in the snubs, but I'm sort of booking Devin Booker in to fill in AD's slot anyway. So Jack, what do you think about these selections? Some of these new first-time starters, first-time All-Stars in general.
I mean, the league's got to put some respect on Devin Booker's name. Like, how many times is this guy getting it snubbed? Like, I feel bad for him at this point. But at the same time, my biggest snub goes to Mike Conley. I really think that as much as his stats don't pop, he's one of the biggest reasons that the Jazz are the best team in the league right now, and I think he deserves some credit for that. This man has never made an All-Star game. I mean, come on, how many seasons has he been there as one of the just a good overall player. I think he deserves an All Star appearance.
Not this year. I know the Jazz are playing well, but that would just be like giving Jeff Teague his All-Star game when the Atlanta Hawks were rolling over everyone out east and had four All-Stars. Conley was not a top 12 player in the conference this season, and I'm cheering for the guy. He put up a good effort this season. Um, Definitely made some money back on another contract after this year, but he is not an All-Star in my book. My snub is Sabonis, man. Sabonis averaging 21, 12, and 7 at power forward. He's got the Pacers in fourth place, and this guy is a snub. He was in the first-time All-Star last year. He followed it up. He backed up, what the hype from last season, this season, and suddenly, we're letting I don't know, man. We're letting Nikola Vucevic, who's having a tremendous season, we're letting him over Sabonis.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Jalen Rose made a good point the other day. He said, if you're saying someone that you think got snubbed, you gotta be able to say why they should have made it over someone else. And I mean, Nikola Vucevic uh, is that guy. I think for Sabonis at least, I really agree with that. Sabonis should be in there over him. But at the same time, I don't want to take away from anything Nikola has done this season because he's
Yeah.
been an absolute dog. But Sabonis is literally like come out of somewhat out of nowhere. I mean, he was great at Gonzaga, but he's been consistently killing it in Indiana, and he's gotten what in my opinion, like little to none recognition for that.
Yeah, I mean he's leading. I mean the Pacers had a couple, great season with Paul George at the helm, top seeds. But I mean when you trade Paul George for a package of Oladipo and Sabonis, it really is looking like they won that deal a long time ago. It feels like forever ago. Paul George has been traded like six times since, but it's a weird scenario. But let's talk about the starters then. On the East, we got Giannis, Bradley Beal, a first-time starter for him, and this may be his first All-Star appearance. Is it?
I'm actually not sure, but I know that for him to be averaging what he is in points per game, I think it's somewhere in the 30s. He obviously deserves to be in there this year. But I mean, come on, like he's on one of the worst teams in the league, and
That was the argument last year. He didn't make the All-Star team, averaging 30 a game last year because the Wizards were such hot trash. And for him to go, to be a starter this year, that's a huge, huge up.
I can't blame them. I can't blame the coaches, the fans for putting him in the starting lineup. It's just like for a guy that's on a team with a record of what the Wizards have. I mean, it's just hard to say that he's been one of the best players in the league. I know a lot of people will disagree with that because of the way he's been balling out. He's been getting buckets, but the Wizards suck. Like,
Yeah, I mean they're on this five-game winning streak that does put them at an outside chance at making a play-in game. That's still early in the season, but I wouldn't count them out just yet. They got the Latvian Laser, who just coming off a career high 36 points for the Latvian Laser. I mean, can we show some love to Davis Bertans? Jimmy, get us a pic of Davis Bertans right here. Latvian laser.
Talk about the captains for a second. I mean, they gave KD captain in the East. This dude is not even in the talks right now for the MVP race. Joel Embiid should 100% be a captain, in my opinion. No disrespect to KD whatsoever as our first verse waitlist member. I don't want to disrespect him in any way, but
That is true.
Embiid has been playing out of his mind in these last few weeks, and I 100% think that he deserves to draft his own team. I mean, KD hasn't even been playing that much lately. He's been hurt for the majority of the games this season. I think a lot of that just comes out of respect for him and obviously the name that he brings along in the brand. But LeBron versus KD is always an interesting matchup to have, so that's probably where that comes from. But Stephen A. Smith was ranting yesterday about how Damian Lillard should be an all-star starter over Luka Doncic, maybe over Steph. I honestly disagree. Dame's been killing in clutch time lately. I know Stephen A. was saying how he's scored like the most points in the league in clutch time, but I think this West starter group is a great squad, and Dame and Steph would clash a little there, and I think it'll honestly be better having Dame coming off the bench. Well, I mean, it's a draft anyways, so scratch all of that. But what do you think about that?
I think I agree with the honorable uh, Sir Stephen A. Smith when you say Damian Lillard should be an All Star because Steph Curry absolutely, LeBron absolutely, Jokic absolutely, Kawhi absolutely, and I mean in Luka's own words, Luka thought that Damian should have got it in over him. So I agree with Luka that Damian should have been an All Star starter over him. Luka's had a great year. He's got many, he's still got 15 All Star seasons left. Dame has plenty more too, but like to me, Dame has had much better of a season so far.
Yeah, I agree. And he doesn't have as many left as Luca. Luca's probably got 20 left in him. Dame is kind of he's nowhere near the end, but I mean, I think he's definitely on the back end of his peak of his prime. So I think that Dame should possibly be a starter. It's just obviously there's no glaring, really like people that he could take over for. I think that Luca deserves it. Even no matter how bad the Mavs have been, Luca shows out every single night, and I
Well,
like that he was rewarded with it.
let's talk about Julius Randle. Okay, so Julius Randle has had a pretty tumultuous career. He started with the Lakers, broke his leg, I think, in his seventh game. But if you really look at Randle's stats, which you can see now right here, he's performed pretty great and consistently, since he got healthy in his sophomore season. He's good for a double double every night. He was in New Orleans for that 1 year and put up like 21 a game. Everyone thought it was a fluke. And now he's doing two great seasons back to back in New York, and he's got the Knicks in the playoff hunt. I mean, what do you think about Julius Randle? Can you build around Julius Randle?
I mean, I argue against this every night because all my friends are Knicks fans, and they try to tell me that Julius Randle is the next big thing.
Hmm.
And the thing is, like, he does have it in the playoff hunt, which is miraculous. And when you watch him, like, he actually looks like he's the leader of this team. He's 100% the leader of this Knicks team. He's their offensive, uh, really workhorse every night. And it's pretty impressive what he's doing, like leading the Knicks to what they are as a 7 seed right now. Uh, but it's just kind of crazy that Julius Randle is starting to be thought of as what could be the centerpiece for the Knicks. I mean, I think it's a fluke what they're doing right now, and it would be stupid to think that any franchise would actually be able to build around him and go somewhere with that. I mean, if you want to kind of build for the future, then I think Julius Randle could be the guy. But
Well, he's only 26, so I think that there's not people in the NBA like to tinker, but I think keeping him around, he's got 1 year left. It may be a team or a player option actually on his deal with New York. I wouldn't be surprised if they re-sign him to a 4 year, 100 million type style deal. Look, I think he'll be looking for John Collins money, whatever Collins gets. So.
I also wouldn't be surprised if they completely dropped him because the Knicks tend to go after guys like KD and LeBron instead of going after these. I mean, I'm sure the rumors will come out soon
There's
enough
no
that
one, there's no KD or LeBron left. unless the Clippers have a tremendous collapse in the playoffs and Paul George and Kawhi are looking for new places, I don't think I don't or Paul George actually re-upped. So I don't think there's any potential for that. I think they've sort of settled in nicely into we got to build together a gritty team and shoot for that 7 seed and try to draft Jalen Green or something next year. So
Gritty, they are building. They are building grit in New York. That team is defensively strong, and I mean, what you can't take away from them is they literally give their all every single night, and that's why they're upsetting good teams.
yeah, definitely. I think you can't circle them as a win like you used to.
But
Um,
it's crazy that not a single player from this Miami Heat team made the All Star game. I mean, obviously they've been pretty ass this season so far, but just the name Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, I expect to see on that roster, and it's kind of you don't know, you disagree.
Jimmy Butler's been out most of the year. He's had some great games recently, but he's been out most of the year. I don't think he had a chance at it. And then Bam has had, I agree, he's had a great year. But if we're looking at big men, Sabonis over Bam, Sabonis over Vucevic. I don't know if I could put Bam over Vucevic, honestly.
I love Bam. I just think he has so much potential. I have a feeling he'll end up being an all star for many years to come. And I mean, that kind of relates to this. The next guy I want to talk about, Trey Young, who is obviously just one of the better young players in the league, and he's an elite offensive player in the NBA right now. I'm not so sure about defensive, which is I think the reason why he didn't make the All Star roster. But some people are arguing he should have made it over Ben Simmons, over Jalen Brown. What are your thoughts on that?
I think Trey Young, someone on Twitter said Trey Young is a free throw merchant. And what they meant by that is all he does is come and buys and sells free throws on a nightly basis because he does a lot of acting. He does a lot of jumping into the defender, and he's raised a lot of serious criticism about that. I did not think that that would translate to a guy averaging like what 29 and 9, not making the All Star game. I think there's likely to be some sort of injury reserve or someone to not play in this game, and I think Young will end up as an All Star just because of that. I think he's the last one to miss, and I mentioned that earlier. I think the same with Devin Booker. I don't Anthony Davis was named an All Star. We could debate that. But since he won't be there, I think Booker is a shoe in to take his spot, especially after the backlash that the NBA stars had to Booker not being selected.
Yeah, I mean, when they decide who's taking over in the All Star game, a lot of it comes down to positions. So like, if it is Ben Simmons, one of the other guards on this reserves team that ends up not being able to play, uh, I do think Trey Young will like kind of without a doubt he will be the next guy up. I think Fred VanVleet's in that conversation too. Uh, but
Well,
I'm hoping he doesn't get there because I actually versed my friend on Fred VanVleet making the All Star game. And as of right now, I got the dub. I'm not sure. Are the verse rules that if that gets reversed, like if he ends up making his replacement, would I still win my verse?
we wait until the game occurs to cash the bets.
Oh shit! So it's not getting put in anytime soon. So I gotta hope that none of these guards get injured.
Well, I genuinely think that the NBA needs to add the amount of All Star slots. And I mean, personally, I do this in my own 2K franchise mode where you can actually make it to where 15 from each conference get selected. And to me, that makes a lot more sense. Why not reward more guys, allow more guys to get All Star appearances? I know people say the All Star game is exclusive, but limiting to just the top, really, what is it, 12? There are 7 reserves. Yeah, 7 reserves. Why not add 3 more reserves on each bench? Have a lot less controversy. Have a lot more, player success. It just seems like a no-brainer to me.
You have a lot less controversy, but also it's some part of it is cool getting snubbed from the All Star game. It definitely lights a fire under these players, and if you add in like those extra 3 spots, it really does take away from that in a sense. And um,
I agree. I
I
just think that there would still be snubs even with those 3 slots. Like we'd see Booker, Bam, Sabonis, Young, maybe DeRozan and Van Vliet, and we'd still probably see Mike Conley get snubbed. We'd still probably see Chris Middleton get snubbed in a way. Like, but I see what you're saying.
And also there's only so much playing time to go around. We can't forget that this is an actual game. It's more than just the
That's true.
accolade. But like you don't want to have 9 guys sitting on the bench hoping to get equal playing time. That's just not going to be fun for my guy Doc Rivers when he's coaching one of these teams.
Yeah, Doc. Doc. We'll see about Doc in the playoffs. That's where he makes or loses his money.
Doc better be making his money this year, or else he's going to have a lot of unhappy Philly fans.
Oh, there's always unhappy Philly fans. All right, Jack, let's talk about some movement in the NFL. The quarterback position has always been a swinging door for bad teams, but this year it looks to be a swinging door for even the good teams. We saw Jared Goff and Matt Stafford switch places. We saw Carson Wentz get traded for a washing machine and a second round pick to the Colts. And we're still hearing the Deshaun Watson rumors. We're hearing Russell Wilson rumors. I mean, there's a lot going on. A report came out today that said, the trades may stop for a while, but what are your thoughts on these recent trades and seeing some familiar faces and not familiar places?
The NFL is in a crazy state right now. I mean, Brady won another Super Bowl, and I feel like teams are starting to go a little crazy. I mean, this league is taking a huge shift right now in culture. I mean, for years, quarterbacks have, for the most part, stayed put, but now these stars are starting to request trades and get moved around. As an Eagles fan, seeing Wentz on the Colts is going to hurt a little because I really do think that him and Frank Reich are a match made in heaven. And I see the Colts going back to the Super Bowl this year. Wentz and Reich taking Indianapolis to the promised land. But
They
I mean, in addition to that, I really think that Stafford and Goff is a great switch for really just all sides involved. I think it's a win for everyone. Just I think that both those guys needed scenery changes, and they're both good players that will probably shine in their new spots.
Yeah, I don't like the Jared Goff slander. I think when you don't get along with the head coach, it's easy for you to be the one that looks bad. But the Rams won 10 games last season. They won a playoff game away. Like, Jared Goff is not a bad quarterback. He has more playoff wins and almost a Super Bowl win, against Tom Brady. So people really like to shit on both him and Wentz. But I'm buying Goff in Detroit. I'm glad that they've come out and said that they're committing to him. I think that's a good move. Galladay may not be back, but whoever is catching passes, maybe Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith over there, they're going to have someone that can get them the ball. So, and Stafford, I mean, him and his family are probably thrilled to be going to LA. They get to live the life. They get to be the fucking quarterback of the LA football team. I mean, that didn't exist a couple of years ago, so it's a pretty cool job. And I think they're going to be great. He's going to cock that shit back, and the Rams are my early favorite, to be an 11, 12 win team, honestly.
I'm happy for Stafford. He's been playing for years now. As he's been good himself. He's just been kind of surrounded by terrible pieces. As we know, the Rams are just a very talented roster, and it's going to be cool to see what he can actually do when he has weapons around him. But I'm interested
He
to
has
hear
a
your
lot of
thoughts.
weapons.
Yeah, the Rams are stacked, and especially defensively, he's actually going to have a good defense on the other end when he's not on the field. But with Deshaun Watson, I mean, there's the Texans are asking for a lot from him. But Dan, like, if you were an NFL GM, would you be willing to give up, let's say, 3 first rounders for Deshaun Watson?
So look, as a Panthers fan, this is all that the community talks about is that 3 first round picks. People were talking McCaffrey and 3 first round picks just to clear the air. That came from a very untrusted reporter in Charlotte, David Newton, the people of Charlotte. He puts out a lot of bullshit. So I'm just saying we're not trading McCaffrey. The Texans, if they trade their franchise quarterback for a running back, they will never, avenge themselves because that's what they did for DeAndre Hopkins. So just coming out the bat, the Panthers trade 3 first round picks, even 3 first round picks and 2 seconds. I'm okay with that for Deshaun Watson because we have the cap space, and I honestly think we become an instant contender. Same sort of goes for teams like Miami, but a team like the Jets, I mean, team like maybe the Broncos, some teams that want Watson, I don't see them becoming instant contenders. And you know, if your first round pick is going to be a top 10 pick next year with Watson, you know, maybe you reconsider. But for the Panthers, I don't think that's a possibility. So, you know, I think that's a case by case situation. But 3 first round picks for, you know, the next 10 years having a franchise quarterback of Watson's caliber, I think makes sense.
Yeah, but dude, like keep dreaming. You keep talking about this Watson to Carolina bullshit. It's just not gonna happen. I think it's time you give up on it.
I don't know, dude. You saw he put out that the Panthers, Dolphins, and Jets are the 3 teams he'd accept a trade to.
Did he say that?
Yeah.
I somehow missed that, but I,
No, it's like really it's building. Like the momentum is building. The Panthers have cut 3 players this week to carve out the exact amount of cap space necessary. So people think it's looming.
that would be big. I feel like that would be the equivalent of the Panthers get of the Hornets getting Lamelo, kind of just shifting the culture, making it just giving them that upside for the long run.
Yeah, and I mean Watson and McCaffrey with DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson. I mean that is a 60 touchdown like offense. So
That's scary. That would be big.
yeah.
I mean, like Teddy Bridgewater is obviously just a different. He keeps you guys in a different league, but you have the young potential in McCaffrey, DJ Moore, and other weapons. So like, if you were able to get that guy to really build around, that could be something big for Carolina.
Give Tom Brady a run for his money. That division would be stacked. But hey, I mean, NFL is looking crazy. I still think we'll see a lot of movement. The NFL draft is going to be crazy.